Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of the Outer Realm. We're broadcasting live on United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, who have been on this journey with us since the very beginning. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, truly grateful for Dr. Snicker Surgeon, a.k.a. Justin Snicker, for the intro that we just heard. So he graciously contributed his voice, his time, and his music, and we love it. So he's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also, specializes in noir genre. Oh, really? God, guys, I have heard that sound, huh? I don't know what's going on with all of this tonight. We'll just have a little... Does that sound a little bit better?
No, it's from me. Can you hear it?
I can't hear anything.
I have nothing but static, and I can't even hear what you're saying. Like, I can't even listen.
Okay, let me pop out and come back in.
I'm gonna do that, but I mean...
Let me go first. Let me go first, guys. Hold on.
Oh, okay. It's just... Oh, Michelle, ouch sound. Okay, Dolly has it too. See, now I don't hear it. What do you know? Serious space weather. Is that what it is? Hello, Sun. Hello, Janice. Hello, Dolly. Well, hello. Dolly, yeah, it's
How does it sound now?
It's you. Oh, because when you went off, yeah, Sun says I'm fine. It's you. Dolly said it's you.
Really? Is it still sounding in my phone? This is terrible.
It's all static. Like you're jumbled.
Well, you don't know how. Let me just try. Okay. That's so bizarre. So I'm still sounding muffled.
Yeah. It's very, very staticky. I was fine when I wasn't on StreamYard, remember?
Yeah.
And when the music was playing, I was fine. I restarted and I went out and I changed everything. Yeah, static and monster sounds.
If I restart now, the whole show goes down. Just say.
I know, no kidding. Put your mute on.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, and now there's no more static. So it's coming from your end. Check your microphone.
I am. It's so strange because we don't have any of this.
Yeah, if Michelle can't, like if we can't hear Michelle, we're done. I can't go for 2 hours with this, that I can tell you.
Wow.
It's nasty.
Okay.
I'm going to let you listen to it. Okay, see if you can hear it.
Okay. No.
Hear it?
Yeah.
Holy cow. So it's your output.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'm output. Hold on.
Yeah,
output.
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. I can't figure out why it would be. I mean, is that a little better?
It's really bizarre because when you played the intro, there was no noise at all. It's just coming from your end. You have a different mic? Is your ear thing in?
Yeah. It's all in like really well. I don't understand why it's acting up.
You sound synthesized.
Okay.
Between all of that.
Well, I don't know, guys. I have no clue. So all I can do is let you keep going.
Oh.
But I don't have any choice. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, I'm not doing this without you. Wow, that is. I wonder if you just switch microphones. See what happens.
It sounds so weird. It's clear out of my head.
I know, it's like I had it too with my earbud before. There's like, it's picking up, it's almost like when you pick up noises on a baby monitor. Like that kind of stuff.
I don't know. Okay, all I can do is restart and come back in. So if you want to just keep talking, I'll message Catherine.
Sure.
Huh?
Sure, I'll talk. I'll talk to everyone in the chat room. I don't mind. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll be back. I'll be back.
This show, so we can't do it without her. I honestly thought it was me. Oh no, we do not need a big screenshot of my face, but I honestly thought it was me because it was only when I went in. But how's it sounding with me just here? Like I'm not hearing any feedback right now. If I drop off, the whole show's gone. You mean me, Dolly, or did you mean Michelle? Because I know if I drop off, it's over. Like the whole thing will be gone. But okay, good. I'm glad. So, how's everybody doing? How's everything going? I need some conversation here. We're really excited to have Kathleen back. It's been a while. See what's been going on with her and all her. If you follow along with her, you know all about her discovery and everything that's been going. Thanks, son. Yeah, and what's happening in your neck of the woods? I mean, here it's pretty darn cold in southern Ontario, but we still don't have any snow, although we're seeing it on the East Coast, which is really funny. But we're still okay here, just really cold. And everybody getting ready for Christmas. How's everything going there? Aw, that's nice. You got to see your daughter today. How nice. That's good. That's why you were baking yesterday. Yeah, it's cold. East Coast is really cold, but I'm really happy that we don't have hi Tamara, how are you doing? It's good to see you back this week, Tamara. I was so worried about you. Haven't seen you in a while on there. So yeah, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere but the weather here. So are you guys ready? There's Michelle. Yay!
What the freaking hell was that all about?
Now you're normal. We're just talking about Christmas.
But, oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, one picture of my face is not a good idea.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
just that's
hold
so much
on
better.
Here because I have to get a lot of things back up and running.
Oh, I hope you feel better.
Hang tight.
He has been under the weather.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah. So
no,
that's really good.
Gotta
Hello,
get
Guardian.
This book back up here. And there we go. There we go. All right. I'm going to bring... Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to go back. Can you hear me okay, right?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay.
Did you change your microphone?
No, I did a restart. Don't ask me why. I have no clue.
That's what Dolly said.
I don't know.
You know what? I thought it was me because I had two studios. It double clicked, so I had two going. So then I got offline and I restarted, and I'm like, what the heck? Then I was giving you the thumbs up during the beginning, the intro, and then as soon as your mic went on, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't hear it. I have noise cancellation. I hear none of it. So what I'm going to do is introduce, you know who our guest is because now it's me for sure. Tonight we are welcoming back Dr. Kathleen Anne Ball. She's been on the show a few times. She's going to be discussing and touching on her book, which is newly released, called A Grail Quest: Discovery of a Knights Templar Cave in Brazil. Mm-hmm. Now, she's discussed this before. There's a documentary out on Gaia. I think she's looking at doing a sequel, but she's had a lot of research and stuff in between which is why she's going to be joining us to sort of catch us up, I guess you could say. So as long as we can make it through all of this, I think we'll be okay. I think everything is still intact.
Sounds really
Not
good.
just me, but I had a whole pile of pictures up. So
I know. It
I
happens.
know. But okay, I don't
sometimes.
know what happened. I don't know, Dolly, are we getting any CMEs? It's like,
Yeah.
because this is
I
crazy.
hope they mentioned an earthquake in Mexico. I hope everybody's okay. I haven't watched the news, so I'm not aware of what's going on.
Oh, I know.
So
Holy God. I'm no ha ha. Very funny. No longer Monster Mash. Thank you.
It was, I've never heard, when the last time I heard something like that, when we were working on with the box.
Great.
Yeah. And that was just like, wait a minute.
Growlies? Is that what you're saying?
No,
This is crazy. I have no idea. I'm showing strong internet. I'm showing everything is going. I'm plugged right in. I don't have wireless anything.
I don't know what it was. It could be just a cross connection or something with StreamYard when
Storms.
Yeah, but everything's working when she wasn't on the board. So
I don't know. So now we're waiting for Kathleen.
I'm not far from Michelle, so it should be affecting me too.
Okay.
And it's not.
Link sent. I'm wondering if she's having problems.
Hopefully not.
I'm not either, because we're working in February.
I'm just grateful that, you're back, because otherwise it would have been canceled. Yeah. Well, because it's not like I can do anything from here. So
you're on the show. That's all you need. You're gonna
I'm saying I wouldn't be able to post pictures for it. You have everything on your side.
I have everything. I know. Hey, Brian.
I wouldn't be able to do it. Hi.
I know.
So that's
our
why.
guest is here now. So now we can get the show on the road.
We can get this going and just ignore the first 5 minutes. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's so kind.
Thank you, Sharon. Love you.
Oh my goodness.
We couldn't be doing what we're doing without all of you guys.
It's true. You guys make it that much more fun. And we know our guests love you guys too. You're so supportive. So thank you. Various earthquakes all over the place. Well, I'm just hoping it's not here or in California with Kathleen. So watch the show will go down one way or another. So
you could drown, stick people.
And here she is.
I can draw stick people. That's it. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Good. How are you?
You. Hi.
How are you doing, sweetheart?
I'm doing wonderful, Amelia. Good. How are you? How's your daughter?
She's okay, thanks. She's, hurtling, but hopefully getting there. Thank you for asking. How's your family? I saw your pictures.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm getting ready to go to, my daughter-in-law is donating one of her kidneys to her father. So we're going to be going for that transplant. We're leaving on the 12th or 13th.
Beautiful gift.
It depends on the weather. Back to Oklahoma for that. So
yeah. I wish her all the best. And if she has any questions, please forward her my way. Because
absolutely. Thank you.
The one thing I did learn through this process is that they don't give you the information until you get there.
Yeah.
They don't give you anything until you get to that stumbling point, because it's just too overwhelming. So if there's anything, even with her dad, like my daughter's the ambassador for the Kidney Foundation here. And she helps a lot of people go through recovery, because recovery is a big deal.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Right.
So, yeah. But I wish them all the best.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really hoping, because my daughter-in-law lost a lot of family members during COVID. So it's like, we really don't want to lose him. So
no. But it's a beautiful thing what she's doing, and she will bounce back. Really?
Yeah, I think she's relatively young, so I don't think she's going to have much of a problem.
No.
We're just going to be caring for her dad. That's going to be the big thing right now, and he's going to be adjusting because he's in pretty, he's not in the greatest shape. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. Like, my daughter was only at 5 or 3% function when she went in.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, they really wait as long as they can when they're
Right.
young
Yeah. Well,
because you have to redo this. You have a second one going on later in life. So
right.
yeah.
Yeah. When I had my liver transplant, I was pretty sick. I'd had liver cancer for 4 years at the time when I had the
Wow.
transplant. So,
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're here with us and well.
wait, what was that?
I said I'm glad you're here with us tonight and well, it's good to see your face.
Yeah, you too. You too. It's great to see both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, lots of great stuff is happening. Things are just really taking off. My research is about connecting a lot of dots.
Mhm.
Yeah, I went to the Disclosure Fest in Las Vegas last month and found that there's 5 crosses in the cave, and 4 of them match some other glyphs in other parts of Europe, in Portugal and Spain and France. But not only that, it happens to be one of the symbols that was used by the Templars in their initiation process.
Oh, so that's really interesting.
So
Well, but
that,
before
I just found that out, and it was wow, connecting that dot. Apparently, this was pretty secret, and
right,
yeah,
right.
Timothy Hogan
Well,
happened to open it up in his book.
I
And
I want to get right into that, but I want for everybody who hasn't tuned in, because I've explained you've been on before, but what I'd like to do is just a real general recap so people who are just tuning in for the first time
okay,
can catch up, and then you go have to go back and watch the archives for
Mhm.
all of the real detailed stuff. So why don't you just bring everyone in with your discovery, and then we'll continue on with all of the new stuff if you don't mind.
okay, all right.
Excellent.
So yeah, I was hiking in Brazil and with a girlfriend, and we were over there to actually go into a Badianya to meet John of God. I was dealing with a liver issue at that time, and he wasn't available, so we decided to go up into the Chapada, which is about 3.5 hours outside north of Brasilia, and it got late. And we went through a couple clutches on the car, and so everything is, it's no automatic. There's very few automatic cars over there because of the gas prices, obviously. But anyway, so all those things, if those things hadn't happened exactly the way they did, we would not have ended up in Alto Paraíso at all. We would have ended up in Cabo Conches, which is where we had our reservation for our posada. And everything strategically just led us there. It was like it was, destiny. But
Meant
anyway,
to be.
so it got dark, and my girlfriend couldn't drive at night, and she was the only one licensed to drive that car. So she says, "Well, let's just stop someplace, close." And we pulled up on Google a couple towns in the area, and she said Alto Paraíso, and she said Alto Paraíso. Anyway, and I said, "That's it. That's where we're going to go." And I said, "What does that mean?" And she says, "High Paradise." I said, "Yeah, absolutely. That's where we're going." So we end up in Alto Paraíso at this wonderful little posada. And the next morning I get up and I go out walk into town, which wasn't far. And I'm talking to some of the locals, and I find out that there's these magnificent waterfalls all over this area, everywhere. There's like, I don't know, 40, 50 of them. And so we make some plans. I go back and tell Adele, my friend, we make plans to go to Agua Fria the following day. And we hiked all the way down to the waterfall. It was magnificent, by the way. If you ever get a chance to go into this area, the Chapada National Reserve, do it, because
Do it.
there's nothing like it on the planet. It's just a magnificent area. So we come back up from hiking, and the owner of the camping posada, which is on that property, he asks if we want to see the adjacent property. Has a whole bunch of crystals all over it, and it has this crystal vein that is just running through the property, about 2.5 to 3 kilometers long. And we said, yeah, we'd love to. So he gets a hold of the caretaker next door and hooks us up with the guide over there. And we drive over there and we meet him. And he takes us on this trek about 4 or 5 kilometers straight down the side of the mountain.
Nice.
I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the middle of 800 hectares of land, which is equivalent to about 2,400 acres, right?
That's crazy.
Anyway, we get down about 4.5, 5 kilometers, and there's this crystal vein, and it's about 1 meter in height and about 1 meter in width. And it's just solid crystal. It just goes all along through this,
wow,
this property. And all around it are probably hundreds of thousands of quartz crystals, different sizes from huge to smaller, grouping clustered crystals. And there's just thousands of them laying everywhere. So he says, you can pick up some and take them with you if you want. And so we do, of course. And then it's hot. It's really hot that day. So he says, well, there's this little cave down about another kilometer or 2 down the hill. You want to go over there and have some snacks and drink some water and just sort of, refresh before we go hiking straight back up this mountain. And Of course, we agreed to do that. And we get up to this cave opening, which you can't even see it. You can't even tell it's there. It just looks like this mound. It's all really you see is it looks like rock outcropping. That's all it looks like. Anyway, we get to what turned out to be the mouth of the cave, and he reaches up the bushes. He lifts the bushes up. And I literally, my mouth just dropped. And I said, oh my God, what is a Knights Templar cross doing on this cave right smack in the middle of nowhere in all the buddies of Brazil? And he starts rattling off a bunch of stuff. And of course, it's in broken Portuguese and I don't understand a word of it. I had to have it all translated when I got home. But basically, he said that it had been there for hundreds of years and that the old women still use that to go in and pray and meditate and do magic. And I was like, okay, but how do the Templars connect to this? And he didn't really understand. So that started it off. That was 2015. We couldn't get into the cave that was filled with bats and spiders. I just shined a light. I walked in a little ways and I shined a light and I could see that there was graffiti and it looked like there were some crosses in there, and I couldn't really tell, but it looked very similar to the walls in Dome, France, when I had been in the dungeon where they had held the Templars from 1307 to 1314 before they killed them. Mm-hmm. The tool markings were almost exact, and the crosses themselves looked very, very similar. So I'm intrigued at this point. I'm totally intrigued, and I can't wait to get back and find out some more information about this cave. And so I get home. We go to Abadianya. That was an interesting experience, but I did not have a healing. I'll get home. 9 days after I get back to the U.S., my house burns to the ground, and all my art, everything. I lost everything I owned in 3 seconds. It was
wow.
And 6.5 weeks later, I have to have a liver transplant. The liver cancer had finally caught up with me.
I'm sure the stress of losing the house didn't help.
Yeah, this was 6.5 weeks after I lost my house.
Awful.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, it was the universe redirecting me. I didn't see it at the time. I didn't really understand what was going on. But I had a dream the night of the fire. We went over to a cabin that we had over in El Dorado County. And that night I had a dream that I was in the middle of the fire and I was watching everything I owned being turned back into the subatomic elements. And I was handed the gift of being able to take those elements and turn it into whatever I wanted to turn it into.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me.
Oh, that's okay.
No, we love pets.
We don't mind the pets.
He's he's very friendly.
That's
That's
okay.
We both have dogs.
So here this happened. I have this transplant right after the fire. And then because of the anti-rejection meds that they give you that are toxic, it turns out, it caused nerve damage and I lost a lot of hearing. So I wasn't able to go back to the college to teach. I was an art professor for many, many years. And I wasn't going to be able to go back. Well, A, because I was losing my hearing, and B, because I had lost all my curriculum, all my artwork. I mean, I had lost everything. So I had a year. I decided to give myself a good solid year to recover from this operation and decide what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I knew I was going to have to recreate my career and do something. So this cave just kept eating at me, and my girlfriend's daughter's ex-husband was from this very close to the area in Valparaiso. And so he spoke the same dialect of Portuguese.
That's typical cat behavior, though.
That's okay.
They knock everything down, right?
You're sassy.
Yeah.
He's just handling everything. But anyway, so
pay attention to me.
Thank you.
It's okay.
So anyway, so I find out, a little bit more about the cave, that had been there for hundreds of years, and that the women were using it for to conduct magic spells and things. And so I'm even more intrigued, and I'm looking through my old photos when I was in France, all through Dome, and I'm looking at these photos and I'm going, my God, this is a Templar cave. There's no doubt in my mind at this time. But why are the tool markings so similar to the ones I found in 1307? Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh my God, I think this cave is much older than, when Brazil was the history that said Brazil was discovered by Cabral, right, in 1500s. And I'm thinking, this is older. I know this is older. So I start shifting gears, and I decide, okay, so I'm going to start taking people on tours to these places that I go. I'd been traveling all over the world at this point for many years and taking students into Europe and, all over, and Egypt and India. And so I decide that I'm going to do that. So I think that the first thing I think is, well, I'm going to take people into this site. And the very first tour that I put together at that point in time, we had some political things going on, and the visas were canceled. Nobody could get a visa into Brazil. And at the time, you needed to have one. So there goes my tour. So I'm thinking, okay, so now what am I supposed to do with this historical? I mean, I need to get this out to people. So I decided to make a documentary. And so the first thing I have to do is go back into the cave, and I have to get some better footage of it, and I have to understand more about this cave. And so 2017, I go back into the area. By this time, I'm meeting people and making friends in Brazil. And 2017, there's a huge fire that breaks out. So here we are, fire again. And it burns 1,500 hectares of land all around my cave.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm not going to get back in, obviously. So I decided to take a side trip and go to Peru. I'd always wanted to go to Nazca, and I wanted to get out to meet with Brian Forster and get out to Paracas and see the Paracas skulls and stuff. So I ended up doing that, and I came back home and I connected with a film producer. And so I said, okay, so I'm going to go back in on 2018. I found a photographer. We filmed the rediscovery of the cave, which was a 3-day process that he just about gave up on. He was to the point where, that's it, I'm done. We'd been hiking for 3 days. He was exhausted. lumping all this equipment around, and he was done. And so I said, no, I know this cave is here. I'm going to keep looking. And so I'm the one hiking all over. And I said, okay, we have to go back to the crystal vein. If we go to the crystal vein, I know that at some point along this 3 kilometers, I'm going to recognize something, and it's going to tell me where this cave is. So that's exactly what happened.
Right.
I started walking up and down this crystal vein, both ways, up and down this whole thing. And I happened to look over, and I happened to see what looked to me like the cave area. And so I went running down there, and he's telling me I'm crazy and everything. It was pretty funny. But anyway, so I go running down there, and I find the bushes, and sure enough, I lifted him up, and then I'm yelling at him, "Get down here! This is it! I found it! I got it! Whatever!" And so he comes down, and we get it on video tape, and I bring it back, and we decide to do a documentary. I had talked with this film producer, and in 2019 we started filming. We started putting together the documentary. Freddie Silva came on board. I interviewed a couple of researchers in Brazil. I went back to Portugal, and I interviewed a cross expert who is also a Templar in Tomar, Portugal, who verified that it was, yes, indeed, it was a Templar cross. And and then that's how the story went. Right. So that pretty much, that brings us up to date in terms of the discovery of the cave. But since then, I have found out so much more about the cave and about the symbols that are in it, and also about the history of the Templars and the fact that they traveled globally.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
Really, in as early as the 11th century. And so
I believe we're missing. There's a lot of places that we haven't even discovered yet, where they've stayed, because they would have to, traveling treacherous oceans like that, would have to seek shelter and a bit of respite before traveling again to go home.
Right.
So it just makes sense, and I feel like sometimes I think they just were trying to start out in different countries to keep that kind of peace going.
We just have a quick question.
Right. We are. We're piecing it together. We're really piecing the history together. And there's a lot of people on board right now. We have, Hamilton.
He adores you. Yeah.
We've got Gretchen Cornwall. We've got Timothy Hogan. We've got Freddie Silva, myself, Sean Williamson. There's a lot of people that are on board piecing this story together right now. Mm-hmm. And we're really making some headway. We're really finding out some wonderful facts and history that we're all uncovering. And we're hoping, at some point to get together with all of this research and reveal it. I mean, we all are in our books and things anyway, separately we're doing it. But when we actually sit down, when I went to the Disclosure Fest, that was such a treat, because I actually got to sit down with Timothy and with Scott Wolter and just talk about all of our research. And, this piece fits into this piece. And it really helped broaden the range of information for me, and also gave me some pointers of where to look and who to talk to. So it's fascinating research. And like I said, going back into the cave in 2021 again was the last time I went back in there. And I was able to photograph all of the symbols in the cave. And then that's when it really got interesting, because I found those same symbols in Peniche, Portugal, in Tomar, in Spain, in Greece, and in Istanbul. So, and they're exactly the same type of cross. And then, getting together with Timothy Hogan, I found out that specific cross that has a triangle at the bottom signifies a specific initiation stage that is practiced and was practiced amongst the Templars and also the Masons later on.
Okay, I'm just trying to see. Did you send me a picture of that by chance?
Yeah, the crosses that I sent you, it's the ones that are, it's a cross and it's got a triangle.
Okay.
It almost looks like an upside down shield.
I'm going to grab it right now just to show
Yeah.
people. 1 second. I'll stop the screen on this one. 1 second.
Okay.
All righty, here we go. And bam. This one?
Right. Well, this is the
Oh,
one. Okay, this one here, these two are from Peniche.
Okay.
These two here from Peniche, Portugal. They are on a building, by the way, that was built in 1099. So we have reason to believe that this particular cross, these two crosses here, literally are from 1099.
Wow.
the one on the left looks really familiar, Michelle.
Well, it
Right.
looks similar to a little bit of the cross of Lorraine, a little bit, but it's got
Right.
the circle at the bottom and it's got the extra bar. So what do you
Mhm.
know what that one signifies?
This one on the left, I'm still doing research, and
Interesting.
I'm going to be going back into Portugal. I had a trip scheduled for October, but as you know, we had some things happen
Right.
in our family that I wasn't able to
Of
get.
course.
So I had to reschedule to February, and I'm connecting with the researcher there that has some old family records, Templar family records, and also these crosses. I'm hoping that he's going to be able to clarify the significance of this particular cross that I see on my left. The one on the right is consistent with the ones that are in my cave, and they are a symbol of a specific initiatory stage in the initiation, development, and stages of the Knights Templar.
And I look at it and I see it as the Valencia, like as the scale.
Yeah.
Like almost like the symbol of Libra, because of the two coming down from that. But that's because I'm not educated in Templar. But I'm saying just to my eye, that's what I would see. But Dolly
Right.
says the triangle represents the delta symbol.
Yeah. Well, this one on the right, it actually represents the 27th. There's 33 degrees. It actually represents the 27th degree of initiation. So, there's more. You can get even more information on that in Timothy Hogan's book. What is it? A Novus. I can't think of the name. Anyway, look up Timothy Hogan, and it's one of his books that he's put out recently.
Yeah, the 369 is also Fibonacci.
Dolly's father, was a Templar. So,
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
The 369 is also Fibonacci theory.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're in good company, Kathleen.
Yeah.
My
So,
great
like I said-
uncle is Fibonacci, Kathleen.
Yeah, the symbols in this cave are just coming to life. And there's another one that looks sort of like a star. And that turns out that was actually goes back into Lemuria, and it was called the Lemurian star. It's what we refer to it as now.
Do I have that one here?
That also represents initiation. So,
Okay. I'm just going to show a couple that you sent.
Okay.
We'll just take some. Hold on, there's another one there. Okay.
My family.
All right, there we go. Bear with me, just so we can. I just want to make sure we get them all out. We'll just spend just a little bit of time with them, and you can go ahead and talk about them, and then we can move on. There we go. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, now these crosses in here, you see the same cross style with the triangle at the bottom.
Yeah.
This is exactly what is in my cave. This here is on the wall in Dome, France. And these were carved by the Knights Templar between 1307 and 1314.
Wow.
Do we know why there are so many? Does it represent each one that's been there, or
well,
do we know yet?
This could be significant of the people that, the members that were in there, the Templar members that were in there as they completed this 27th initiation. That could have been completed for that reason. I don't know. We weren't
Right.
there, obviously.
No, I was just wondering if anybody had any information on that for you, because they're all identical, so you wouldn't know which Templar made that carving. And
Right.
yeah,
They-
it's very interesting.
Okay, let me go to the next
There's
one.
so many of them. I can't get over how many. That does lead to your theory. I believe that.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
go
I'm
to
really gathering, and I have quite a bit more evidence too. You know, I interviewed the Kalunga people while I was there in 2021. I had been invited to come into their tribe, into their community, which is you know, it's like interviewing for a big time corporate job or something.
right.
First, you're interviewed by a young gentleman or two, and then you get to meet an older gentleman usually, and then you get to be, then they take you to a home that's in Altaparizo, but
Right.
it's the people. And then if you pass that test, you get to go into the village.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Right.
I
Right.
passed the test.
Good for
Right.
you. Well, it was meant for you. It was meant for you to be there.
Yes, it was
Yeah,
meant for me to be there.
absolutely.
So, and then right before I left to go into the village itself, a couple of the locals come and they tell me, well, you know, there's a lot of people that've never been seen again.
That's good to know.
Oh,
That's
geez,
just very
thank you.
comforting.
Security.
Thanks for that.
People, right? The Kalunga people, this particular village of people were from royalty from Africa, and they got off the slave ships just as they landed, and they ran. They took off and they went into Altaparizo. Not all the Kalunga. Some of the Kalunga were just escaped slaves that came into this area. And guess where they hid when they ran in the 1500s?
Your cave?
In my cave.
Yeah.
Not just that one cave, but they also told me there was other caves. There are more caves.
Right.
So
Of
the next
course.
time I go back,
You couldn't possibly house all of them.
yeah. So the next time I go
Yeah.
back, they're going to take me and show me these other caves because
Oh,
they're on their land in Cavalcancha. So,
that's exciting,
So
isn't
have
it?
you looked at any of the caves? Or
so,
are you
so
just
what this does though is it moves my dates back to before the 1500s because they told me these caves had already been there when they arrived. These caves were there when they arrived in the 1500s. They used them as shelter until they could start building their little villages and things. And they were in hiding. They were in hiding for several hundred years before the Portuguese government finally acknowledged them and gave them some land now. So
There's a lot of people, a lot of Portuguese citizens that immigrated to Brazil.
yes,
That's
yes.
why the official language is Portuguese too.
Right.
So yeah,
Mhm. No,
I have a lot of
exactly.
Portuguese friends that have family there.
Right. Yeah. And there's typically just about everybody that you talk to in Brazil has family in Portugal.
So I have to, because it's the only country in that entire continent where they don't speak Spanish. They speak Portuguese.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the rest of the country speaks Spanish.
Right. It's the only one. It's the only South American country that speaks Portuguese.
Yeah. Yeah. I have family in Argentina, and I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, Venezuela, Chile, everybody speaks Spanish. Brazil. But I think it's historic. It's just beautiful for Portugal.
Yeah, it is.
That they have that. That's wonderful.
I'm extremely curious about the
amazing,
symbols you found.
Brazil itself is just an absolutely gorgeous country. I absolutely love Brazil. I've been there like 6 or 7 times now. I go back just about every year. I have friends there now. In fact, I was just contacted by some people that want to build me a house over there.
Nice.
No,
Oh
that's all.
my gosh.
They
I
want
hope
you to
that comes
stay.
for you.
So
Yeah. So it just may happen. Who knows? I may retire in Brazil.
Good for you.
If
I
I
would.
retire, God knows that if I ever do retire, but
Yeah, that's hard, but at least it's a nice place to retire.
well,
How did you know about the symbols that trace back to ancient Lemuria? Because the ancient Lemurians were said to have made their way over to South America.
Yeah. Well, it turns out I also have a researcher that contacted me and wants me to come to this little museum in Peru. And he claims to have, and he showed me pictures, he claims to have some chainmail and some Templar artifacts that look to me like they could be somewhere between 11th and 1300s. So there's every reason to believe that the Templars were probably traveling throughout South America. You have to remember that when they did finally announce the discovery of Brazil, they didn't call it Brazil. They called it Veracruz, and they told all the other monarchies in Europe that it was an island. And the reason they did that is because they didn't want anybody thinking that it was a huge, massive continent, because they wanted the rights to it and they wanted to explore it, which is what I believe they did.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. And then we get to throw, the wonderful surprise into the whole mix. And I found out on my third trip over there that my cave outside of Valparaiso is actually a gold mine.
Wow. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
You need to start carving. Just like
right.
Well, it fits into this scenario. If the Templars were going back and forth and mining gold, because what was happening in 1300s is all of the monarchies throughout Europe were broke. They had been contributing to the Crusades, trying to take back the Holy Land, and they were broke. This was the reason why King Philip the Fair went after the Templars to begin with, right? Because he owed them a bunch of money, and he also wanted what they had. So
yeah, he did. He wanted the land and everything.
But Portugal was not broke. Portuguese King Dinis in 1307 was not broke. He was building. He built a fort in Peniche, it was basically a nautical college or fort in Peniche that was manned by the Templars, which he later renamed the Knights of Christ in 1314, when they were officially disbanded. But he was still building. They weren't broke. King Dinis was not broke. So they had to be getting an influx of gold and silver from somewhere. And we know that there were numerous silver mines throughout Peru. And now we know that there were gold mines in Brazil. So I think this is, it makes perfect sense. I think that not only were the Templars traveling between the 11 and 1400s back and forth from Peniche into Bahia, and I think they were originally escorted by the Amazonian tribes. Given that tip in Portugal by one of my fellow researchers, that the Amazonian tribes were the ones that actually led them from the coast into. So
you figure they came across the bottom then, opposed to you figure they came across the bottom as opposed to coming in across the top, like the northern part of North America down the coast. Okay, that's interesting.
Yes,
that's quite the journey.
Right. And according to my friend, a researcher over there, that the current Templars also took a trip that started in Central America and went all the way into the coast of Brazil to Bahia. And they traveled, that's what they think was the same route that the Templars took. But what was interesting that he told me is that they were following stones that the Templars had placed throughout that whole area, and they left mason marks on those stones. So this is so exciting to me, because I've also been invited. I was invited into the Amazonian tribal people in 2021, which was totally exciting. And so I am going to ask them to take me on that route, because I want to photograph all of those Templar stones, all those rocks and things with the mason marks. Now, what I found out recently is that, talking with some researchers at the Disclosure Fest, that those mason marks were not necessarily mason marks. they were put there to communicate. They were directional marks to basically, they were codes basically for the later Templars to follow to be able to get back into Alto Paraíso.
Wow. It's fascinating with all the growth, you know,
Right.
in the forest, that you would have found all those marks, all those stones and those mason marks, especially in
Right.
a trail.
And so, you know, I want to go on that track myself. I want to follow that path myself and see them and photograph them and try to understand what this language, you know, what these symbols were what they signified.
Mhm.
And they were obvious. This is what's interesting too, is they were obviously left there and carved into these stones for later Templars to follow.
Mhm.
And so that also goes along with the prophecy that the Templars would return in 700 years, which they did, because I was there in 2019 for that reunification ceremony that they had in Tomar, Portugal, where they all came together and signed that pact in Armaral, and then they had the follow-up procession in Tomar. I filmed that whole thing.
Right.
So that corroborates that. You know, and it's like, okay, so the Templars really did reunify 700 years later, and they're stronger now than they ever were.
Right. Right. It's interesting because I think, you know, when you think about the fact that they never disbanded at all, even after 1314. You know, they were going like way before. They were going way before what we were led to believe, you know, bringing 5 guys to the Holy Land. Come on. It just is not a thing.
Five
you know?
guys doesn't
like
sound right.
They were already there as the Hospitallers, right? And then there was a whole Templar community in Portugal, and it's just being misled is what I'm saying. Like, you know, it's selective. We don't need to know. It's on a need to know basis. We did need to know. But now that all of this is coming to light, you know, researchers like yourself, Freddie Silva, especially, I mean, you know, 19 years in writing.
My gosh,
you know, Templar Nation. Yeah. It's just like, come on. But things make sense. So now they can't really suppress the information because the evidence is starting to surface.
Yes.
Who's trying to keep it from getting out, though? Is it the Masons? Is it the Templars? Is it the church?
I don't know.
Who is it?
Freddie found a lot. When he was on the show, he really
the Templars
found a lot.
They've always recognized, very similar to where the Masons and the Rosicrucians do, they've acknowledged all religions. And what I believe their ultimate agenda is to create a sovereign world where we are all, you know, accepting of each other, and similar to what Portugal, you know, the Templar nation that the Templars created in Portugal. If you go into Portugal, there's still, you know, medieval festivals that are dedicated to all of the different nationalities, religious backgrounds, economic backgrounds of the people that created Portugal. And you see Moors, you see Sufi, you see every kind of influence, Islam, you see Druid, you see Cathar, you see all these, you see all of these, you know, people that represent these different nationalities and groups that were all protected by the Templars in Portugal. They had created the only country in Europe where that kept the Inquisition at bay, and they protected these people that the church were calling heretics.
No, I agree. Well, the Inquisition had its place. It did its damage for sure, but nothing like the rest of Europe.
You know, I honestly believe that that's what their ultimate agenda is to bring about, you know, heaven on earth, whatever you want to call it, the second coming, whatever you want to call it. But a time in history that is still in our future, obviously, because we're still doing all this crazy stuff.
Right.
A time in history where we have harmony and respect for each other and can actually focus on our spiritual growth and on our potential, fulfilling our potential as human beings, as human species that have both a physical aspect and a spiritual aspect to us, so that we can actually, fulfill that potential at some point. And I really believe that that's what the ultimate Templar agenda is.
Well, they were the keepers, of lost knowledge, from the old mystery schools. I mean, when they were on that Temple Mount, they weren't just looking for artifacts. They were looking for knowledge, and they found it, and they applied it, and they're still today the keepers of all of that.
Absolutely. And I'm convinced they found Phoenician maps, because the Phoenicians were traveling all over the globe,
Yes.
long before anybody that we know of in modern history.
Yes.
And I think that those maps fell into the hands of the Templars at that point. And I also don't think that it was accidental, because some of the research that I've uncovered now in the Rosicrucian Library indicates that there were a band of knights created during the building of the Second Temple in Jerusalem by Zerubbabel to protect the builders of the temple. And what my research, this is why I'm so excited about going to Portugal,
Right.
is I think I may have connected at least one or more of the family as being descendants, the Templars that originated in 1040, 1090, by the way, I will get into that in a minute, may have actually descended from original families that were knights from this order that Zerubbabel put together in 600 BC.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that they were over in the Holy Land blindly. I think that they knew exactly what they were doing. They went
Absolutely.
I think that they had genealogy, and I think that they had oral traditions that were passed down to them. Yes. And I think they knew exactly what they were getting, what they were after over there.
Oh, 100%. It didn't just start off with, 5 knights that went in and trying to migrate, hundreds and thousands of people across the Holy Land. 5 guys can't do that. 9 guys can't do that. 5
guys can't get across town without stopping. Well, they don't ask for directions.
No.
So I'm sure it was a lot more than that.
No, absolutely not.
Who's going to stay in some broken down stables when they could have stayed in the palace?
Exactly.
They were certainly invited to stay at the palace, but they requested to stay in the stables.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. No, exactly. There's just so much that's out there, and it's all starting to surface. And there's some stuff that will be kept at bay that only a select few will be made privy to. And the time may come. I hope it's in, my lifetime, where that knowledge can be freely shared. But it's one of those things. Along with great knowledge comes great responsibility. I'm having a Spider-Man moment. But
I think someone said it before Spider-Man.
But yes, it's just
when I was there during the procession, I literally, as I was walking down from the castle, the Convento Cristo, which was a Templar stronghold back then in the medieval times, all the way up through the Knights of Christ during the time they were Knights of the Christ. While I was walking along with these Templars through this procession down into town to the St. John Church, St. John the Baptist, and then finally we ended up at the church dedicated to Mary Magdalene, by the way, and lit the cross. I was literally weeping because it touched me so deeply, because I felt like something in me was being reborn along with everyone there, was feeling the same thing. Because if I looked into the eyes of these people, and by the way, there were both male and female Templars in this procession.
That's right.
This was interesting. And when you look into their eyes, and you could see the same feeling that I felt, the same feeling that I was feeling, that I could see reflected in their eyes. This tremendous joy to be there at this time in history, rebirthing the Templars, but not just rebirthing a Templar, band of Templars, but a global organization again, where they were all there. They're all now working together towards a common agenda. And I mean, this was one of the most powerful events in my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yeah, I agree. I think they were doing it way back then. I mean, so many people figured that all these different nations, these different countries were warring with one another. It's like, no, they weren't warring. The Muslim Templars weren't at war with the Christian Templars. I mean, you read about the sharing of knowledge between them. I won't say you didn't have, every group's got their, their bad seeds, so to speak. But on an average, this information was all shared information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the Phoenicians did the same thing. If you think about it, the Phoenicians accepted people from all different walks of life and all religious backgrounds and all the same thing. So this was not something new. This was not, this was an idea that had begun in, well, who knows where it began, but it was practiced in Phoenicia, and the Phoenicians practiced it, and the Templars obviously got these records. And I think that it went along with their agenda, and they probably studied how they went about it. They probably did, because they basically did the same thing. When they conquered the Moorish castles in Portugal, they turned around and then asked their brethren to stay and gave them land to stay in Portugal. And when I was in Sintra, I actually went to a memorial where Templars and Islam soldiers had been fighting. And at the end of the war, they were all buried together in the same memorial. That was really powerful. And what I was told is that once the war was over, that was it. All that hatchets were buried. People were given land. They all lived together. And that in harmony. And that's the way it was. They also let the Cathars come in, the Druids come in when they were, and the Jews, they let the Jews come in and protected all of these people that the church considered, heretics.
When I think back, I think you get little hints, in different films that they put out there. I think it's all strategically done. But one that I liked was The Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom, about the Templars and the Crusades when Saladin took back, the Temple Mount. And what I found to be very interesting was he basically has stated that everyone could stay and everyone would be protected. And if they wanted to leave, no harm would come to them. And that was the Templar way.
Right. It was. Saladin had a great deal of respect for the Templars.
Yes.
Anything that you see that's left to us from history, his verbiage, the way he described and talked about the Templars, he obviously had a great deal of respect for them.
Yes. But he had them in his own circle as well.
Right.
They were very far and wide. I think the fact that they made it this far and wide, to me, is what makes it so fascinating, because you hear about them coming to North America. Obviously, there's still discoveries being made, which, yours being one of them, which basically shows that there is more to be found.
And there's so much more, Michelle. Amelia, there's so much more that's going to be found too. I have reason to believe that there's some research that's going to be divulged here real soon, and we're going to see some really exciting discoveries here in the next year. All across the world. Just in my own travels through India and into Istanbul, when I was down in Cappadocia and Derinkuyu, down into the tunnels, I saw numerous crosses and evidence that showed me that the Templars were in that area. Also in Greece, and after talking with Timothy Hogan, I found out, that yes, indeed. All the things that I have theorized but not written about because I didn't, I wasn't sure. Have all been corroborated now. Yes, the Templars did organize in Greece, and they went from Greece to Constantinople, which is now Istanbul. And so those crosses and things that I saw that I believed were associated with the Templars were actually associated with the Templars.
And
Darren Kuyu,
even in this direction, I mean, we had the Duke's on last week. They are the grandchildren of Jesse James, and they were talking about Templars.
About Jesse's connections with the Templars, yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Right? Yeah. Jesse James. Yesterday, Dennis Stone, Stonehenge of America, talks about the Templars. I'm like, wow. This isn't the U.S. This isn't.
Yeah, look at all the stuff that we found in North America that points to the Templars. I mean, there's a tremendous amount. So now we have India, we've got North America, South America, we've got India, we've got Turkey, we've got Africa, of course, we have Ethiopia, we have several countries in Africa.
It makes sense because that's so close to Jerusalem.
Where are we going to turn up next?
Well, I would imagine any one of the countries in the continents of that side would have been touched by them. To see evidence of it through, Canadian St. Lawrence rivers and into the U.S. is a little bit shocking still for me. Yeah. Like, it's a little surprising for me. I want to see it myself, kind of thing, So I'm like wondering, why were they here? So,
well, the next film, we're getting ready to put this next film will be out. We're producing it now, and I have the trailers out on my website, as a matter of fact. So it's going to be an exciting episode because I go inside the cave. I show all these things inside the cave in this next film, and I'm also interviewing the Kalunga on tape, so that's going to be in the film. I go into the Amazon jungle and spend 10 days with the Huni Queen people, but they weren't the ones that actually guided the Templars. It wasn't their people that guided the Templars, but they knew of tribes that did. So they were aware of these Europeans that had come in. Of course, they can't give you dates because their dates, they don't think the same way. They don't think in a linear way like we do. So we say, 1500, 1700, whatever. They don't think that way. It's really a beautiful way they do it, the way they do believe, though. But everything's all sort of happening at once. They refer to the past, but it's all part of their current traditions and ways. And it was just beautiful living with them. And I actually had an amazing experience while I was there. I had been trying to get off anti-rejection medications for 6 years by this time. And I had been weaning myself. I had been doing a lot of spiritual work around it. The anti-rejection medications were killing me. They were slowly poisoning my body.
Yeah.
And my kidneys were now being affected, and I was desperate. I really was serious and desperate about getting off these meds. I had tried the year before, and I was able to get off of them for about 6 months. And then I had an operation where I had my cochlear implant so that I could hear better as a result of the nerve damage that were caused by anti-rejection meds. Anyway, so 2021, I'm interviewing the Huni Queen chief, and we have this amazing past life memory that we both share. And so when he said to me that he had been waiting for me, that he knew I was going to come at this time in history, and he had been waiting for me, and he adopted me as his daughter. So he actually took me into the family and adopted me. And then he asked me if there's anything that I really desired, was my heart's desire in terms of healing, because he invited me into the ayahuasca ceremonies.
Very powerful ceremony.
I went through the ayahuasca ceremony, the first one, with my, my photographer and my translator, my guide.
And how is that? Because that can be, that's life-changing.
I was just embraced by love. And I stopped taking my anti-rejection meds the day before the ceremony on faith. And I haven't had to take any of them since. It's been over 2 years.
Good for
Wow, phenomenal. It's a really life-changing experience. Some people cannot make it like past like just the first hour,
you. Oh,
like just
ayahuasca? A
well,
lot of
yeah, you
people
really
lose
have
it.
to face yourself, face your
Right.
demons, face everything.
You also have to
Some
face a
people just
bucket.
throw up profusively
Well,
and they can't get past that. Whereas
right. What I had to do was work with the spirit of this liver, the man that gave me the liver, and I had to find out who in the family was still holding on to him. And I had to meet basically with that
Interesting.
person spiritually,
Mhm.
so that, and it was his wife, because she's Catholic, and she believed that his liver should have been buried with him.
Right.
So I had to meet with her basically in the spiritual realm and work through that. That took months and months and months and
That's
months.
a
Yeah,
tough belief
families
system
can
is very
interfere.
difficult.
Families
Yeah.
can interfere on organ donation, unfortunately.
Yeah, well,
It doesn't matter what you wish. I had to put it in my will because
It's not
you can't just
something
have
that-
it on your driver's license.
Yeah, it's not something that I advocate for people that have had transplants to do, by the way. It's not, because it's a very serious undertaking. It took me 6 years. It was not something that I just wanted to do and went and did. That's
No.
not the way it works. But it did happen for me, and I was able to do it. And I have been, anti-rejection med free now for over 2 years. And my doctors
Congratulations.
are just pleased. They're very pleased, because it was looking like if I stayed on those meds, I would have ended up having to have a kidney transplant next, and then God knows where that would have led. So for me, it was the right path. I don't advocate it. I'm not here to advocate that for other people, because spiritually, you really have to know what you're doing.
Yeah. So essentially, kids, follow the advice of your doctors. As you know.
Yeah, and if you
keep
want
that
to
on
be a
there in
donor,
case we get for medical misinformation.
if you want to be a donor, you need to speak to your doctor and your
that's
family
right.
and your family. Discuss it with your family is what I'm trying to say. If that's something you really want to do. Yeah.
Yes.
And, for me, it was sort of the end, or the end of that segment of my Grail quest, which is what my book is about. I wrote a book about that whole backstory of discovery of the cave, and just the definition of a Grail quest, an initiation process. And that's what the book is about. It came out in July. And and I talk in depth about my healing in Peru, the first one where I healed the 7 tumors. I talk about all the spiritual meetings that I had with specific people, a nun in France who had been waiting for me. The same thing. I talk about the ayahuasca ceremony in Peru. I talk about the ayahuasca ceremony in Brazil, and I go in depth in this about what I experienced and the process that I went through. So, and I also talk about the cave, and I have lots of pictures in there about the cave, about the inside of the cave, and pictures that over in Europe and different places and locations that I knew about at the time, that are the same as that are in my cave. So,
right. I think it's amazing. So, you're working on the second documentary.
Yes.
Obviously. So where, like from this point now, do you get to go examine other caves? Have you examined any other caves to see if this was something that was territorial, or was it just an isolated cave?
Well, I've been invited, like I said, I've been invited by the Kalunga back into the Cavalcanche, which is where this particular tribe of people, this is where they own this land.
Right.
And I have been invited back that they will take me into these caves. And so that's hopefully going to happen this next year when I.
Well, your last show, you were talking about going in there with a metal detector. Did you get to do that?
Do you get to do what?
Do you remember on the last show you left off with, I have a metal detector waiting for me when I get back?
I had a metal detector. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I found the gold. By the way, I found out that there was gold there, and I gave that metal detector to the Kalunga as a gift.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'm glad you got to do it. I was wondering how that went.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So-
one thing led to the next. This has just been this ongoing quest. That
Yes.
just keeps getting bigger and more exciting. And the more I look, the more is revealed, and the more questions that I have.
That's always the way. Now, did the people in the area ever find artifacts? Like, do they have anything stowed away or anything they were able to show you? Have artifacts ever been found?
No, what the Kalunga told me, the reason I'm not finding artifacts is because they took everything that wasn't, part of the earth
Right.
to survive. They repurposed every single thing they found. They traded the gold through other people, a lot of the gold to survive.
Right.
They were desperate, they were desperate to survive, and so I completely understand. But nobody's going to find. I don't think we're going to find any artifacts. I think the only thing we're going to find is the symbols in the caves, unless there's a cave that nobody has found yet.
Well, maybe. I
There
mean,
are Templars in Europe that believe that I am going to find the treasure.
right. So you figure that they buried it there. I mean, some cave systems are very extensive, so you never know.
Right.
What happened to your Templars? They just sort of, blended in with the community and remained like they didn't leave?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do believe that they blended in with the locals. They're basically the order itself had been dissolved in 1314, so they were no longer bound by their vows of chastity. So they, I think at that point they married into the locals. The ranch that was just below the cave, probably 10 kilometers below the cave, which is actually borders in a little town called Moino, was actually, the locals have told me that was actually a Templar property. And that's where I found that mill wheel that matched the one in Tomar and also matched the one in Sintra. It was exactly the same. And those are both early 1300s.
Wow.
Europe. So this property, and the woman has a sluice box on the property. So
that's crazy.
yeah.
Do you think you'll find a cemetery where they'll have the symbols?
No, I didn't find any symbols on her land, but then I didn't really search. I only went into the areas that she allowed me to go into. So,
Wow.
Maybe next time you'll be able to get into more.
Okay, I have to hold that thought because we have to do a station and sponsor ID.
Yes,
It's that time.
definitely.
I know.
Yes, because
I
we haven't
know.
had enough technical difficulties tonight, the two of us. So, yeah, it's the end of the week, kids. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the gorgeous city of New Orleans on 105.3 and 107.7 FM radio, as well as Roku channel. And hopefully by the new year, we'll have some news for you. And that's all I can say. Our special guest tonight is dear friend and, of course, special guest and expert and artist and beautiful and everything magical. Dr. Kathleen Anne Ball is with us, and she's giving us more information and details about her mysterious Knights Templar cave in Brazil. And we shared some pictures, too. So I suggest if you're hitting audio, you might want to, if you're just tuning in, wait for the archive and watch it on our YouTube channel so that you can participate, because we love a good show and tell here at the Outer Realm. Just saying. If you're just tuning in and you missed it, don't worry about it. Just stream us on any archives. Stream our archives on any platform you normally use. Simply search United Public Radio Network and then look for The Outer Realm with Michelle and Amelia. And you'll find all our archives there. And you can listen to the previous shows with Kathleen as well. So don't forget to share us there either. And we're coming up on our 400th episode this month, Michelle.
400.
And only because of the wonderful people at Folgers Coffee for your continued support. Thank you so much for sponsoring our show from literally day one. And that was in 2020, I believe. And we are heading to 4 years with you. And we are so grateful. And we deeply appreciate all that you do for us. Our fabulous banner and promo media is a horror illustrator. I am so tongue-tied today. That's enough. Seriously, enough. What a rough day. We want to give a big shout out to Steve McGinnis. He is a horror illustrator, a fantastic artist, and it's not just horror. So if you like his work, and who doesn't, you can contact Steve. He creates commission pieces as well, and he can be found on all social media platforms. Loving our intro, because we do, and we love the man behind the intro. Thank you to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon. Justin Snicker is an award-winning composer, a vocalist, and a musician, and you can also find his music on Amazon, Bandcamp, any platform that you stream on. Check him out. He's fantastic. You can find Dr. Snick on Facebook and Instagram. And as I've said before, he posts the coolest little videos with his music. They're so phenomenal. And if you are doing stories on Instagram or on social media, search Dr. Snick and you can use his clips for your stories. They're a lot of fun and we just love his music. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook Live or YouTube, please make sure to give us a like. Hit that subscribe button right now if you're watching us on the Outer Realm YouTube. Hit subscribe and like, please, and thank you. And don't forget to share us with your friends and family.
And we're back.
Yeah.
So I'd like to address this one. Well, Kathleen did a documentary on her discovery of the Knights Templar cave in Brazil. So it's on Gaia. Is that correct? It's still on
Yes,
Gaia,
it's still on Gaia till the end of the year. And
Yay.
and then we're going to see what we haven't decided exactly what we're going to do. We have a couple offers and some options. So I'm just not sure which way we're going to go with it. But until December 31st, it is available on Gaia TV. You can also stream it on Amazon. And and it's the Brazilian Templars Mystery. And it's, we just hit 579,100 and something views.
Beautiful.
Good for you. Congratulations. And there is nothing like a great historical documentary around the holidays to watch with your family. It really is. It makes for great conversation, keeps you from fighting with half of them. And it's just phenomenal. Like, who wouldn't want to sit down with their family and watch that? Mm-hmm. We watch all kinds of historical. We watch religious stories. This is something that is so important and present in our daily lives. It's happening as we're living. I think it's important for everybody to, try to watch that if you can, and or subscribe to Gaia. I mean, they have phenomenal shows. And then you can watch Kathleen's work because she is phenomenal.
Thank you.
So what's next? What's next for you with all of this?
Well, I really had a chance while I was writing the book to reflect on the actual Grail aspect of my own journey throughout, from the time of my near-death experience in 1990 all the way up to the discovery of the cave and beyond, and to the healing that happened, which is also, oftentimes compared to the end of a Grail quest, because the Grail, the liquid in the chalice is supposed to heal, right? It's supposed to heal the person that's on the quest, and so that's been something that's been associated. Now, this is what I was saving for now.
Yay!
After having in-depth conversation with Timothy Hogan, I found out that the 5th step in the alchemical process is to take the white powder, the calcinated powder, and turn that into a red liquid. And guess what that liquid's called? The blood of Christ. Even more important, many of the chemical breakdown, the chemistry of it is very similar to ayahuasca.
Well.
So this would make
Huh.
sense that I would have an ending to that portion of my Grail quest, a healing with ayahuasca.
Wow.
Right.
Never would I put the two together.
I hadn't until I just knew that intuitively, I knew that I had been on my own Grail quest and I had been through initiations. I had been studying Kabbalah for 40 years.
That's all ancient mystery school stuff.
I knew that I was following my own initiatory path and I was on my own quest. But when I found out that liquid had the same properties as ayahuasca, I was just like, well, that makes total sense. Total sense. Okay. So there is that fifth process in the in alchemy. That after you calcinate and you get that white powder that's considered mana.
Right. That's right. That's
right. You know, that Moses gave to the people, right? While they were in the desert. That mana is very powerful also. But the next stage is actually a healing, has healing properties. And so, I mean, that just absolutely blew my mind because that's exactly what happened to me.
Right. And I makes you think about how many faithful would the thought of alchemy, that's like witchcraft to some people. And so this sort of a combination, you know, how do you think that would go?
Well, the other thing about it is that, you know, the other thing I found out is that a Grail quest can be taken by anyone.
Yes.
I had no idea what I was doing. I never had any idea of what I was doing while I was doing it. All I was doing was following my inner promptings.
You were led.
And my intuition. That's all I ever did.
Yeah. Led and called. Yeah.
It led me to the whole process that's now been 33 and almost 34 years later. Here we are.
Right.
And I have discovered a cave. I've met with nuns. I've met, you know, all these things have happened. And, you know, that has been my quest. That has been my own Grail quest.
Kathleen, do you, oh, sorry, Michelle.
No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Do you feel that perhaps in a past life? Seriously, why not?
Absolutely.
Right? That's what I'm wondering, if you're reliving it to bring it back to life and bring the story forward.
Right. There is no other explanation for, you know, that nun. My husband was just absolutely flabbergasted. He didn't know what to think when we got to Malta, and that nun opened up the cathedral door and grabbed me and started crying and holding me and hugging me and telling me, I've been waiting for you, madame. I've been waiting for you. You know, I waited, and I learned English in college so that when you came, I could speak with you. And, you know, hustled me off into her, into her studio or study and drew me this map. And I went on this map, and it was a whole nother spiritual experience that happened. But my point is there has been no accidents. These are not accidents. These, it's told twice by two different Templars that this is my destiny.
Absolutely. You've had some huge traumatic experiences to get you there as well, like life-changing experiences that, you know, came in and said,
because you were supposed to be pushed into the direction, and they want to make sure you couldn't turn back.
Exactly.
You were meant to only go forward, and the life events made it so you couldn't turn back.
Right.
You could only move in one direction, and that was forward with this.
Right.
That's a calling.
It is.
Yeah.
Even down to the fire. You know, the fire liquidated everything I owned, basically.
That's right. Travel light.
Need some funds to be able to continue the quest.
I know. Travel light. Right?
I mean, so
you can't take all that with you.
None of that stuff really matters anyway. We don't take any of it with us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's important in the spiritual realm. I can tell you that from my near-death experience. None of that stuff matters.
No.
Absolutely none of it. It's only here for our purposes of growth. It's all tools. All that stuff is just tools to use for our spiritual growth.
And
to
some fun.
achieve things. And as we achieve things, if we put a goal ahead of us, we have to jump through certain challenges and certain hoops. And that's what the money is used for, is to get through those hoops and whatnot,
Right.
right? And all that stuff. But that's really all, is so that we can go on the physical plane, that we can have our own spiritual journey, which is going to benefit us when we get to the other side.
That's right. That's right. No, I think it's exciting. I commend you for your perseverance, because you did have to go through some pretty big hoops,
Oh,
right? And I am really excited to hear about the next leg of all this, going down there and being able to explore the other caves, just to see if there was something, if it was even bigger than what you think it is,
right.
or centered to one cave. It maybe things just sort of got spread around, because they knew the Spanish were in the area. They knew people were conquesting and trying to get gold and everything else. They would have had to have been so strategic about where they put things.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would not be surprised one bit if I found that, a portion of the treasure. Personally, I think it's been dispersed in different parts of the world.
I agree.
I don't think that any of it was buried. I don't think it was buried all in one place. I think that these
That
things
would have been
were
silly.
in various locations. Absolutely.
Negligent too. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I didn't discover it, I've already told the Templars that I will turn it over to them. I don't have any interest other than my, just historically documenting, and I want to photograph and I want to research whatever it is if I do discover it. But as far as the physical property, I want it to go to the Templars, because that's who it belongs to, from my opinion, the way I feel about it.
Right.
And since I aligned myself with their agenda, I believe that it should go to them to further that agenda, and that's the purpose for it. And with that is actually the title of my book that's going to be coming out next year too. I'm in the process now of I'm on about the 6th chapter of the Templar agenda, which is
I love
Oh,
it.
I love that.
I see another episode in the making.
Great titles.
I know.
Great titles. Yeah.
My cat is just doing.
I laugh because as soon as you put the sign, the cat was nowhere to be seen until you put the banner back up.
Okay.
The cat's back.
Right,
I'm a 15-year-old.
He's underneath the Templar robes. I got these robes, by the way, when I was in Tomar. They were given to me in Tomar.
They're beautiful. I had a
nice.
black and white. His name was Popeye.
So they're actual Templar robes from Tomar, Portugal.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
Very
He just want to
nice.
meander through them, and explore and everything. So
Yeah.
That's okay.
I love it. I love it. When people say treasure, I'll put this in 2 parts. What do you think the treasure is, and what makes you so sure that it's gold, physical treasure?
I don't know that it would even contain gold. It may contain some items that are made of gold. But I really think, and I don't doubt that there probably is a tremendous amount of maybe gold and silver involved in this. But I really think that there's genealogy records, that there's a whole lot of ancient spiritual knowledge of our planet that has been passed down for centuries. And I talked about this in my first book, because I believe this is really important, that the Templars, the initiations and the practices that the inner circle of the Templars were involved in were not something that they just came up with. They, from what I can see, stem all the way back to Lemuria. So they were practiced in Sumer, they were practiced in Egypt, they were practiced, in the Holy Land East. That's why
you would have had to hide stuff like that, even from the time of the Gnostics.
Yeah, you would have had to keep this under wraps, especially in the Middle Ages. Especially in the Middle Ages. But all through time, I mean, if you look all the way back to Sumer, we have, we had these these hierarchies, these groups of people that elite, whatever you want to call them, demigods, whatever you want to call them, that controlled things, and they had an agenda that they were, that they have brought forward all the way to today. We're living in it. We see it right now. It's going on amongst us right now.
Absolutely.
So this information and this knowledge had to been secretly passed down for centuries, hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of years. And I believe that is probably the bulk of a lot of what we're going to find in these Templar treasures once they are discovered.
I agree. I mean, if you go back even to I go back to the Gnostics. I mean, their knowledge of the stars and the beings from the stars, and they were just more connected. They were just wiser. They would have been looked at as heretics of some sort. Then you get into the Essenes, and you get into the Cathars, and this is all passed down even from the Gnostics. So where did the Gnostics get it from? So if you just keep going back.
Absolutely. It's all passed down. And if I'm correct about the origination being in Lemuria, my personal belief about Lemuria and Atlantis is Lemuria came first, Atlantis came later. Lemuria was an epic in our evolutionary process, that we were not functioning primarily with the mental process. We were not driven by our brains.
Right.
That was played down.
Right.
When Atlantis came into being, that's when the mental, the technology and all the mental processes came into being, and that was the beginning of the stage of our evolutionary stage of developing the mental brain. But up until then, during the Lemurian stage, everything was intuitive. And the Egyptian Commission people talk about this, a time when there was 360 senses, is what they call it. That's the way they describe it. And what that means, which is difficult to, if you can imagine, speech, taste, touch, sight, blah, 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 right? So we have 5 supposed senses today. 360, you go, oh my God, what could that possibly be? Well, basically, we innately understood a tree. We innately understood and can communicate with the stars.
That's right.
And the planets.
Right.
And the cosmos. And we understood all that, and we passed it down genetically. And this is what I believe our DNA holds, is the memory of all of existence from the beginning of 3-dimensional reality.
Absolutely. I mean, even now, there's so much, they're doing researches on ancestral imprinting, just like you have this urge, oh, it must be a past life, or maybe it's just ancestral.
Right.
Yeah, because if your uncle can draw and all of a sudden you're an artist, it runs in your genes.
Similar. Absolutely. So I think it's fascinating. It's definitely
it's passed down, and we talked
thought.
about this before. I have Templars on my father's side of the family. So
my mom's side,
I had the Templars in my genes, and so did you. We talked about this before.
You have to think, okay, biologically. I was in my mom's womb with already, she had me. I was in there with her eggs, my eggs, and my daughter's future eggs. It goes back, and that has to have something that carries through.
Yes.
It has to.
Yes.
So one question, one comment. They could have very well have had that knowledge that King Solomon had used.
I totally agree with that. They did have the knowledge of King Solomon. I do believe that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And question. Oh, go ahead.
Again, that goes to the evolutionary stages. With each evolutionary stage, we're coming into a new one now.
Right.
But with each evolutionary stage, we have abilities within that realm of the evolutionary stage that will help us or assist us in achieving the fruition of that stage, right? So during Solomon's time, there was a lot of magic that what they called magic. He was a magician, basically. He was a magician.
Right.
Understood not only, the what they call the white practices, but the dark also.
Of course.
Understood, because he was a perfect balance of those. So he was
I get that. Yes.
Right. So he was able to command demons. He was able to do a lot of things. Now, see, these things, I believe, we were able to do freely in Lemuria. We were able to manipulate, rocks and stones. And that's where I see, when we see in Peru, we see these huge stones that are so, well, we see it all over the world.
Together. I know, you can't even get a thread through it now.
They're so close together, you can't even get a piece of paper.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I personally believe that they were softening the stone.
Right. Wow. Yeah, very interesting.
Absolutely. I believe that they had understanding of like I saw in my dream with the fire. Right. They had such an ability and understanding of the elements, the subatomic elements, that they were able to change them. They were able to manipulate them to achieve things that we just forgot we were able to do. I mean, we'll be able to do that again. I do believe that we will be able to do that again once we tame the mental part of our being.
Or once they stop suppressing us.
It's pretty much run amok at this point.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. For sure. Okay, here's an out there question. Amelia, can you see this?
Yeah, I can. Janice asks, I'm going to throw this out there.
I know where you're going with it.
But do you think that the Templars went all over the earth by way of UFOs? There's a reason why I asked that.
Well, this is an interesting question because I've also had people ask me, did the Templars travel interdimensionally?
Yeah.
And there's some people that believe, there's some research that points to the fact that the UFOs, that many of them are popping in and out of dimension.
That's correct.
Time zones, right?
That's right.
Now, if the Templars had this ability, I don't know. I'm not aware, and I haven't had any research that has proved or showed me that at all. Not
I guess I think it would depend on what knowledge are they caretakers of.
Yeah, I'm open to all possibilities. That's how I work. I have it all open until I start seeing facts. And when I start seeing evidence and facts, then I start piecing something together.
Of course.
I just recently, as a matter of fact, this is really interesting. I always believed that there were UFOs. I always believed that there were people from aliens, whatever you want to call them. And when I was a child, I used to go out in my backyard and we had this swing set back there. And I used to ask the aliens to come down and get me as long as they could bring me home by dinner so I didn't get in trouble. Right? Well, they never did. They never did.
Can't miss a meal, family.
So I started doubting the fact that there might even be UFOs, right? Well, last year, I was driving home from my daughter's on Highway 9 in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and I saw my first UFO.
Congratulations. First that you know of.
That you remember. Yeah.
You may have. Yeah, you may have. Well, we're heading up to the top of the hour. So this is a part where you promote yourself. What do you have coming up? How can people find you? How can people find the book? And so on.
Well, they can find me on the website at www.templarsinbrazil.com. You can also find me on YouTube, Templars, also the Grail Quest YouTube channel. You can find me on TikTok now, on Instagram, Templars in Brazil. I'm on LinkedIn, and I also have 2 Facebook pages, the Templars in Brazil, and also Kathleen Anne Ball. And another thing I wanted to bring up is my book is available on Amazon. You can also order it by contacting me through any of those venues and ask me to send you a book, and I will send you an signed author's copy, which will be a couple dollars cheaper than what they're selling it on Amazon.com. So anyone who wants a signed copy, that's the way to do it. And then the film is out, of course. The Brazilian Templar Mystery is out on Gaia TV, and the next film will be coming out next year. And my book, The Templars Agenda, will also be coming out next year. So,
Well, you
That is
stay in
awesome.
touch with us and you let us know when all this is coming to play, and you come and share all that information with us. We'd love to hear all about it.
Yeah, well, when we get back from Portugal, I'll definitely get a hold of you because I know there's
Please.
going to be so much more.
We should have
Absolutely.
Hamilton join us as well. He
Yes.
just adores you.
Yeah, we'll make it a party.
Well, it's been wonderful to get together with you again. I just love talking with both of you. Anyway, it's just
Thank
it's
you.
so much fun having you. You're
Thank
just such a
look forward
joy.
to your show.
Aw, thank you. We
You're
love
just
having
such
you
a
on.
joy.
We love, thank you for sharing all the information, so many great updates. And, we're just so excited for you to be able to continue on and make these incredible discoveries. And it's fantastic that you're sharing it all with the world, because it needs to be shared. That history needs to get out there. So, okay. The website. Okay. What is it, Kathleen? They want me to put it in.
Templars in Brazil.
Is it what's the name of the website? Templars in Brazil?
The website is it's www.templarsinbrazil.com.
Templars in Brazil.
It's an easy one to remember.
And which one?
Well, they're asking. Somebody asked me to put it in chat.
Yeah.
So I'm putting it on all the platforms. There we go.
Yeah.
Everybody's got it now. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
on 7 different platforms. So I will be in touch with you. I will send you some links, and please keep in touch. And
Absolutely.
we will do this again.
I wish you both a wonderful, wonderful holiday.
You as
And,
well.
You as well. Yes.
You're in our thoughts, and you're in my prayers, and I pray everything goes really well, and for your daughter-in-law as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And same to you. Same to you.
Thank you.
I keep her in my prayers as well.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Yeah, we've been staying in contact. You've been a great support. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Kathleen.
Wonderful night. Yeah.
Have a good one. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Well, time to sign off, guys. We've had another terrific show. That's like a double whammy this week. So thank you all for tuning in. You just make it, honestly, you guys make this so much more fun. So thank you all for tuning in. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring tonight's show. Big thank you to Justice Snickers, Seabrook Guinness. Huge thank you to Dr. Kathleen Anne Ball. Wow, what an incredible journey that she's on, and I hope she just finds everything she's looking for. In fact, I will wish it for her.
Oh,
so
love her energy.
Tomorrow night, we welcome back Deborah Thunderbeat. And
tomorrow.
She's just
next week.
Not tomorrow night, next Wednesday. God, I was looking at where it says Wednesday. Anyway, next Wednesday.
Yes.
Deborah comes
I'm like,
back.
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
I know. Deborah returns, and she's going to be talking about the 22 DNA strand activation.
She's fun. Yes.
Open up, get ready for some really interesting stuff. This woman is amazing to start with, but this is what she's known for.
Yeah.
And this is something that you're not going to want to miss. Thursday night, we welcome for the very first time Nicole Magic. It's just I had to look at the name. So her write-up is she's encountered with extraordinary occurrences in her life, or the encounters, sorry. Let me just start that over. The encounters with extraordinary occurrences in her life sparked a profound desire within her to assist individuals in reshaping their connections with themselves, money, and others, ultimately enabling them to attain the level of success that they aspire to achieve. See, December, guys, lighthearted month. You know, it's all happy. So lighthearted month. We might throw in a kind of like a spooky or two because, it's the other realm. We have to do something like that.
With Daryl.
But next week,
just a little bit.
Yeah, it's been pretty lighthearted and fun. So that's what you get to look forward to. So I hope you all have a terrific weekend, and we will see you all next week. Thank you and good night.